He held the courthouse door for a rushing stranger who said, "I'm the one deciding your case tomorrow." Think about that for a second. One small gesture, one split-second decision, and suddenly, everything changes. What if every interaction you had today was secretly shaping your tomorrow? What if the person you ignored at the coffee shop was meant to offer you your dream job? What if the elderly woman you helped with her groceries was about to leave you an inheritance? We walk through life blind to these invisible threads connecting us all. Every day, you pass by your future. You brush shoulders with your destiny. You make eye contact with miracles waiting to happen. But here's what nobody tells you. Kindness isn't just about being good. It's about recognizing that every human being you meet is carrying a story, a power, a possibility that could transform your entire existence if you just took the time to acknowledge them. That man at the courthouse, he remembered that held door. He remembered the respect. He remembered the humanity. And when it came time to make a decision that would affect another human being's life, he remembered what it felt like to be seen, to be valued, to matter to a stranger who had nothing to gain. You think small acts don't matter? You think your choices are insignificant? You're playing a game where you can't see the board, can't see the pieces, can't see the consequences rippling out from every move you make. Every morning, you wake up with approximately 35,000 decisions to make. Most of them, you won't even notice. The way you respond to the barista, whether you make eye contact with the homeless veteran, if you let that car merge in traffic, these aren't just decisions, they're votes. Votes for the kind of world you want to live in, votes for the person you're becoming, votes that echo in ways you'll never fully understand. There's a woman in Seattle who's alive today because 20 years ago, a stranger smiled at her on the worst day of her life. That smile was the only thing that stopped her from stepping off that bridge. The stranger never knew, never had any idea that their random act of human warmth saved a life. But that woman went on to become a counselor. She saved 47 people from that same bridge. Those 47 people have families, children, dreams, contributions to make. One smile. Thousands of lives affected, ripples becoming waves, becoming tsunamis of change. You want to talk about return on investment? There's no stock, no cryptocurrency, no financial instrument in the world that can match the compound interest of human kindness. Every time you choose patience over anger, understanding over judgment, generosity over selfishness, you're not just being nice. You're architecting reality. You're coding the matrix of human experience. You're writing checks that the universe will cash in ways you can't imagine. That judge who held your fate in his hands? He wasn't just remembering a held door. He was remembering what it felt like to be treated as more than a title, more than a position, more than a cog in the machine of justice. Let me tell you something about power that nobody wants you to know. Real power isn't in bank accounts or boardrooms. Real power isn't in titles or territories. Real power is in the split second between stimulus and response. That moment when someone cuts you off in traffic. That instant when the cashier is rude. That breath before you respond to disrespect. In that space lives your sovereignty. In that pause exists your true authority. In that heartbeat, you hold the power to change the entire trajectory of multiple lives. Because here's what happens when you choose kindness in the face of cruelty. You break the chain. You stop the virus of negativity from spreading. You become the firewall that prevents someone else's bad day from infecting dozens of others. But it goes deeper than that. Much deeper. When you respond to hate with love, to rudeness with respect, to dismissal with dignity, you're not just being the bigger person. You're performing alchemy. You're literally transmuting the base metal of human interaction into gold. That person who was rude to you, they're fighting battles you can't see. They're carrying wounds you can't imagine. And your unexpected kindness might be the first gentle touch on a pain they've been nursing for years. You think you're just being polite. You're actually healing the world, one interaction at a time, one choice at a time, one held door at a time. The man rushing through that courthouse wasn't just stressed about being late. He was carrying the weight of making decisions that would alter human lives. He was drowning in the responsibility of playing God with other people's futures. And in that moment of overwhelm, a stranger saw him not as a judge, but as a human being who needed help. Want to know the most dangerous lie you've been told? It's just business. Nothing personal. That's just how the world works. Every interaction is personal. Every exchange is spiritual. Every moment of contact between two human beings is a sacred negotiation of energy. You know why that judge remembered the held door? Because in a world that had reduced him to a function, someone treated him as a person. In a system that saw him as a dispenser of verdicts, someone saw him as a fellow traveler just trying to make it through the day. This is what we've forgotten in our rush to optimize, digitize, and mechanize every aspect of human existence. We've forgotten that behind every role, every uniform, every title, beats a heart that remembers kindness and cruelty with equal clarity. The CEO who rejected your proposal? She goes home to an empty house and wonders if anyone would notice if she didn't wake up tomorrow. The police officer who gave you a ticket? He's counting the days until retirement, praying he makes it without becoming another statistic. The teacher who seems to have it out for your kid? She's spending her own money on supplies while battling a system that treats her like a babysitter instead of a sculptor of minds. Every single person you encounter is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Every single person you meet is one act of kindness away from remembering why life is worth living. Every single person who crosses your path is a universe of possibility wrapped in flesh and bone, waiting for someone to acknowledge their humanity. You want to change the world? Stop trying to move mountains, start holding doors. Here's what happened in that courtroom the next day. The case was complicated. Corporate lawsuit, millions at stake. Lawyers in $1,000 suits arguing about percentages and precedents. But the judge kept thinking about the door. Not because it was grand, not because it was memorable, because it was human. In a world of calculated interactions and strategic relationships, someone had done something with no agenda, no angle, no expectation of return. As he listened to the arguments, he found himself looking past the legal briefs to the human beings behind them. The small business owner who'd put everything on the line. The corporation that employed thousands. The families that would be affected by whatever decision he made, and he remembered what it felt like to be seen. Really seen. Not as a dispenser of justice, but as a person rushing through a door. His verdict that day wasn't just legally sound, it was human. It considered not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of justice. It recognized that behind every case number was a collection of human stories, dreams, fears, and possibilities. The lawyers were shocked. The settlement he crafted was unlike anything they'd seen. It protected the vulnerable while acknowledging the complexities of corporate responsibility. It was, in the words of one veteran attorney, bizarrely compassionate. All because someone held a door. All because in a moment of rush and stress, a stranger chose to see a person instead of an obstacle. You're living in the age of metrics. Everything is measured, tracked, optimized, analyzed. Your steps, your heart rate, your productivity, your engagement rate. But what about the metrics that actually matter? How many smiles did you generate today? How many shoulders relaxed because of your presence? How many people went home feeling more human because you existed in their orbit? These are the KPIs of the soul. These are the analytics of actualized living. These are the only numbers that will matter when you're lying on your deathbed, wondering if your life meant something. Because here's the truth bomb nobody wants to detonate. Success without significance is the ultimate failure. You can win every game and still lose at life. You can achieve every goal and still feel empty. You can climb every ladder and realize they were all leaning against the wrong walls. But a life measured in moments of human connection? A career calculated in lives touched? A legacy denominated in kindness compound interest? That's wealth that inflation can't touch. That's success that market crashes can't destroy. That's achievement that death itself can't diminish. Every time you choose humanity over efficiency, you're making a deposit in an account that pays dividends across generations. Every time you see a person instead of a problem, you're investing in a portfolio that outperforms every index. Every time you hold a door, offer a smile, share a moment of genuine connection, you're building equity in the only economy that actually matters. The economy of human flourishing, the marketplace of meaning, the stock exchange of souls recognizing souls. Let's talk about the butterfly effect no one warns you about. You know the theory. Butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, causes a tornado in Texas. Small actions, massive consequences. But what they don't tell you is that human kindness operates on quantum mechanics. It doesn't just ripple outward, it ripples through dimensions. It affects not just what happens, but what becomes possible. That judge who experienced unexpected humanity in a moment of stress? He didn't just make one compassionate decision. He started seeing differently, permanently. Every case that came before him after that door was held, he remembered. He remembered that everyone rushing through life is carrying invisible burdens. He remembered that justice without mercy is just authorized cruelty. He remembered that the law serves humans, not the other way around. His verdicts began to shift, not away from justice, but toward a deeper understanding of it. He started crafting solutions instead of just rendering judgments. He began healing instead of just ruling. Other judges noticed. Lawyers began to adjust their approaches in his courtroom. The entire ecosystem of justice in that courthouse began to evolve, one decision at a time, all from a held door, all from a split-second choice to help instead of hurry by, all from one human being deciding that another human being mattered. You think you're too small to make a difference? You think your actions don't matter? You're not a drop in the ocean, you're the entire ocean in a drop. Every choice you make is a vote for the future. Every interaction is a blueprint for what's possible. Every moment of kindness is a revolution disguised as a routine. Here's what they don't teach in any school. The universe runs on an operating system, and that operating system is reciprocity. Not karma, not justice, reciprocity. But not the transactional kind you're thinking of. Not I do for you, you do for me. That's kindergarten reciprocity. Real reciprocity operates on a different frequency altogether. It says, what you put into the system determines what the system becomes. What you offer to the collective changes what the collective offers to everyone. When you hold a door, you're not just helping one person, you're upgrading the entire program. You're installing a patch that makes kindness more likely to occur everywhere. You're coding compassion into the matrix of human experience. That judge didn't just remember the door remembered him. The action created a field of possibility that followed both the giver and receiver, affecting every interaction they had from that moment forward. This is why saints and sages throughout history have insisted on the same simple truth. The way you treat the least of these determines the whole of these. The kindness you show to strangers becomes the kindness available to everyone. The respect you offer to those who can do nothing for you becomes the foundation of a world where respect is the default, not the exception. You want to hack reality? You want to reprogram the simulation? You want to upgrade the human experience? Start with the next person you see. Start with the next door you approach. Start with the next opportunity to choose between convenience and compassion. Because every choice is a line of code. Every action is programming. Every moment of kindness is debugging the errors that keep us separated, struggling, alone. Let me tell you about the epidemic no one's tracking. It's not in the headlines. The CDC isn't monitoring it. The World Health Organization doesn't have a task force for it. But it's killing more people than any virus. It's destroying more lives than any disease. It's spreading faster than any pandemic. The epidemic of invisibility. The plague of being unseen. The virus of existing without mattering to anyone. You pass by carriers every day, the cashier who scanned 10,000 items without anyone asking her name. The janitor who's cleaned your office for 3 years without a single conversation. The security guard who's protected your building without ever being protected himself. These people aren't just doing jobs. They're slowly disappearing, fading from existence one ignored interaction at a time, becoming ghosts in their own lives. But here's the cure, and it's simpler than any vaccine. See them. Really see them. Not their function, but their face. Not their role, but their reality. Not what they do, but who they are. That judge was used to being seen as power, as authority, as decision, but not as human, until someone held a door and saw just a person in a hurry. Someone who needed help. Someone who mattered not because of their position, but because of their personhood. That moment of being truly seen, it's what reminded him to see others. To look past the case files to the human files. To remember that justice is blind to status, but it shouldn't be blind to humanity. You want to know the most radical thing you can do today? Make eye contact with everyone who serves you. Learn the name of every person who makes your life possible. Acknowledge the humanity of every soul who crosses your path. Because in a world that's turning humans into functions, recognition is revolution. In a society that's reducing people to productivity, acknowledgement is resistance. In a culture that's making everyone invisible, seeing someone, really seeing them, is the most powerful magic available. There's a moment coming in your life. You won't see it coming. You won't be prepared for it. You won't recognize its significance until much later. It will look like nothing. A held door, a shared smile, a moment of patience when you wanted to be impatient, a choice to help when you could have hurried by. In that moment, you'll be writing a check you won't live to see cashed. You'll be planting a tree whose shade you'll never enjoy. You'll be lighting a candle that will illuminate paths you'll never walk. This is the paradox of human kindness. Its true power is always invisible to the giver. The stranger who held that courthouse door never knew they changed the course of justice, never knew they softened a heart that held power over others, never knew that their simple act would ripple through verdicts, through lives, through generations. They just held a door. They just saw a person who needed help. They just chose kindness when they could have chosen convenience. Right now, in this moment, you're surrounded by opportunities to change everything. That coworker who annoys you might be one compliment away from not giving up. That family member who frustrates you might be one hug away from healing. That stranger who seems rushed might be one held door away from remembering their own humanity. You're not just living a life, you're creating a legacy with every choice. You're not just passing through time, you're architecting eternity with every action. The universe is taking notes. History is holding its breath. The future is waiting to see what you'll do with this moment, this day, this chance to matter. Chapter 11. Here's the final secret that changes everything. You know why that judge's story matters? Not because it's unique, because it's universal. Every day, in courtrooms and classrooms, in boardrooms and living rooms, decisions are being made by humans who've forgotten they're human. Power is being wielded by people who've forgotten what it feels like to be powerless. Judgments are being rendered by those who've forgotten what it's like to need mercy, until someone reminds them, until someone sees past their armor to their anxiety, until someone treats them not as what they've become but as who they are. This is your superpower. This is your mission, should you choose to accept it. This is the revolution that starts with your next interaction. You get to be the person who reminds others of their humanity. You get to be the held door in someone's courthouse rush. You get to be the moment of grace that changes how power is wielded. Every person you meet is both a judge and a defendant in the courtroom of life. They're making decisions that affect others while being affected by the decisions of everyone they meet. They're wielding influence while under the influence of every interaction they experience. When you choose to see them, really see them, you're not just being nice. You're recalibrating the scales of justice. You're rewriting the code of human interaction. You're upgrading the operating system of society itself. That courthouse door wasn't held by a saint. It wasn't held by someone special. It was held by someone exactly like you, facing the same choice you face dozens of times every day. Do I see an obstacle or an opportunity? Do I see a function or a face? Do I see what someone does or who someone is? Chapter 12. So here's the question that matters. Tomorrow you'll walk through dozens of doors. Tomorrow you'll pass hundreds of people. Tomorrow you'll have countless chances to choose between efficiency and humanity. What will you do? Will you rush past, focused on your own stress, your own schedule, your own significance? Or will you remember that every person you encounter might be one gesture away from a breakthrough? Will you be the held door that helps a judge remember justice includes mercy? Will you be the kind word that prevents a tragedy? Will you be the seen moment that reminds someone they matter? The man whose case was decided by that judge never knew about the held door. Never knew that a stranger's kindness had created the conditions for his own merciful verdict. Never knew that he was the beneficiary of a butterfly effect that started with someone choosing to see a rushed person as a human being worth helping. This is how the world really changes. Not through grand gestures or viral moments, not through politics or power plays, but through the accumulated weight of countless small choices to see each other, help each other, matter to each other. You are more powerful than you know. Your choices ripple further than you can imagine. Your kindness compounds in ways you'll never see. Every door you hold is a vote for the world you want to live in. Every person you truly see is a brick in the foundation of a more human future. Every moment you choose compassion over convenience, you're encoding love into the algorithm of existence. The courthouse door is everywhere. The judge is everyone. The choice is always yours. What will you do with your power? How will you use your influence? Who will you see today? The future is watching. History is being written, and it all starts with your next choice. Like this video if you believe in the power of small acts. Subscribe to join others who are choosing to see the human behind every face. Share your own story of when a stranger's kindness changed everything. Because this channel, this movement, this revolution is for those who know that how we treat each other is how we create the world. The door is in front of you. Someone is rushing toward it. What will you do?